Hello friends, welcome again. So let us get started with window functions. And trust me, this is one of the most important topic for interviews, right? Whether it is interview or whether you are working on SQL in real life, window functions make your life very easy and you should learn it well. And even as I mentioned for interview, this is one of the favorite topic. Now, let us get started. I will directly not talk about window functions, but I will tell that what are the challenges based on whatever we have learned. I mean, we learned certain things like we learned subqueries, we learned CTEs, we learned group by, joins. So, what is not possible with that? And why do we need window functions? So, let us try to understand that need and then we will understand window functions later. I hope this makes sense. So, let us get started. Now, just to start with, I would try to create a employees table and I will have employee ID, employee name, department, salary, and hire date. And this is some of my sample data. For example, employee ID is 1, the name is Amit, the department is that means Amit works in HR department. Amit earns 50,000 rupees monthly, and Amit was hired on 15th of Jan 2022. So I will just take this create table and insert script, and I have created my new database with the name week 7 underscore DB because we would have created employees table earlier. So I do not want to mess up with any existing thing. Rather, I want to create my own database. So I created a database with create database name, and then I use week 7 underscore DB, whatever database I have created. Now I will just run this create and insert command. Done. And I will say select star from employees, right? So let us see, we are getting this data. That's great. That means the setup part is done. Now, let's say your requirement is you want to find the maximum salary, right? You want to find, so let's say your requirement is you want to understand who is getting the maximum salary from each department, right? That means from each department who is getting the maximum salary, that's what you want. So you will say, okay, what's the big deal? I can always do a group by. So what you might think of. So first of all, I will just take this script and put it in my notes here, and I will just make this view syntax SQL. Okay, now this would look good. So you want to find maximum salary for each department, let's say. Find max salary for each department. You say, what's the big deal? I can do a group by. Okay, let's start writing. Select. I will fill this from employees. Group by. Group by what? I mean, you want max salary for each department. So group by department. And the moment department comes here, here also department will come. Department. And now I have to give a aggregation function. And I can do a max of salary. And I can just say it as let's say max sal, right? From employees group by department. And this should give me the maximum salary for each department. Let us see. Let us see that. Okay, HR department has 55,000 maximum salary. Finance department has 62,000. IT department has 72,000. Fine, that looks good, right? But what I wanted, I mentioned my question as I want to understand the details of the employee getting maximum salary in the department, right? That means I want to print that okay, in this HR department, someone is getting 55,000. Who is that, right? So I want basically to print I want to print even the what, the employee id, and I want to print the employee name, right? Then you will say, okay, I will take this query and I can just say what, I mean, I'm not saying whatever I'm typing is correct, but will this work? Employee name. See, department is your group by function, right? Group by. And then you are giving a aggregation. But what about these? I mean, these are not aggregation. So how it will come, right? Which employee name you want to display? How you will get to know, right? So for each department group, a group is created. Let's say HR department has 4 employees, so a group is created for HR with 4 employees, and we are getting a maximum. But in this HR group there are 4 employees. Which employee ID we want to print? Is it the max employee ID, min employee ID, or what is that? Which employee name we want to print? It, we are not telling that. So with this granularity, that means per department one row should be given, but for HR if there are 4 employees, then we cannot display 4 employee IDs for HR and 4 for employee name, because per department just one row has to be emitted. So this we need to give a aggregation function like first, last, min, max, or whatever, right? So this is not going to work. So if I run this, it will say that these two are not as part of aggregation or not part of group by. Let us see. So if I just try running this, what we will get? Select list is not in group by clause, right? That means this is not in group by. Now, but if you put it in group by, it won't serve the purpose, because you really do not want to group by based on employee ID and employee name. So you are kind of stuck. You are kind of stuck, and you are not having a easy way to show the employee ID and employee name here, right? So what you might do? Okay, you might think the hard way or doing it the hard way. What, you can do it with a join. How to do? I will show you. Select, select uh, star from or whatever from employees E, right? And then join. That means whatever you are getting, I'll explain you first. So whatever you are getting with this one, if you see here, and if you join it with this department from the employees table, so you think that this is one table, right? And employees is the base table employees. So if I show you both the tables, let's say, so you think this employees is one table and this is one table. You can join this department from this with department from employees, right? I hope this would make sense. And even then you can join on salary of this, right? So for example, if you see HR 55,000. So department of department here and salary of salary here. Salary of Maxell here. So HR 55,000, where it will join HR 55,000. This one it will join, right? And then we will get to know, okay, Neha is the name and employee ID is too. So let us try to do that join, and then I will just take this. So this I can make it as a subquery now. We have learned subqueries, so I am assuming you can understand this well. Select department, comma Maxell as Maxell from employees, group by department. And let me give a alias as D, because any subquery in the join or from clause we have to give a alias. I hope this makes sense. Okay. Now I have to give the on clause. On E dot department equal to D dot department. I'm not giving the salary clause right now. I am just doing that, and I am doing, let's say, select star. Let me just run this so that you understand what we have done. So if I run this, so you can see this HR 55,000. That means along with every row, I am getting the maximum salary for that department. Like this, Amit was from HR, so we are getting 55,000. HR 55,000. That means maximum salary for that department is coming along with that. I hope this is clear. Now we can put one more uh, condition for join if we want to do a proper join here, and E dot E dot salary equal to D dot max sal, right? So this way we are joining that employee only who is having the maximum salary in that department, right? I'll just show you that. So you can see this. So we got employee ID 2, name Neha, from HR department, salary is 55,000, hire date is this. Then kind of this is redundant, so I can select the relevant columns. I can say E dot employee ID, comma, I can say E dot employee name, comma, E dot department, from which department this person belongs to, E dot salary, right? That means I'm selecting this employee ID, employee name, department, salary, and hire date, and E dot hire date. I hope this is clear, right? And now, if you have a misconception, sometimes you might feel, oh, whenever join, we have to only do when we want columns from other table also. But in this, as part of select, you do not want columns from other table, right? You just need column from employee, only one table. But the second table is used as a condition here. I hope this would make sense. And if I run this, I will be able to get the person from each department with the highest salary. So from HR department, Neha is getting 55,000, which is the highest. From finance, Ravi 62,000, IT Sanjay 72,000. But you see that to get this, there was no easy approach, right? There was no easy approach. I mean, it was a bit tricky in order to get to this level. I hope you can understand what I am trying to say. Now, so trickiness is one part, but that means we were able to achieve. But now let's say my requirement has changed and I want top two employees from each department, right? What I want now is I want top two employees from each department. That means when I say top, I mean with the highest salary. Top two with highest salary from each department. Earlier we just got top one, right? This is top one, the highest. But now I want to understand, okay, someone might be getting little lesser than Neha also in HR department. Who is that person? Right? So how will you approach this now? How will you approach this? Now, in this, I mean, there is no way. You might think, can we do limit to? That will not work. Limit will not work here. Limit will work when there are no groups as such. Might be for if there are 100 records and you want to just see two records, then it will work. But not this way, right? This will basically, I mean, instead of three groups, now we are showing two groups only. But from that group, we want to show two. So limit is not that. Limit, let's say in employees table, we have 1,000 employees and you want to limit five, then it will work. But department wise, you want to limit two. That's not possible. I hope you can understand what I am trying to convey. Right? So, for example, what I am trying to convey is this is not going to work. Not going to work. The below will not work. Right? Idly limit, how do we use? We say select star from employees, order by salary, TESC limit to, right? So as a whole, if we have to find that in employees table, I want two people earning the maximum salary, then this is how we can do. But department wise, if I have to do that, this is not possible. Using limit, this is not possible. So you kind of understood that, okay, while doing grouping, if I want the details of the entire details of that row, I have to do a join only. Moreover, for each group, I cannot give top 2 or top 3. Top 2, top 3 works for the entire table, but not for a group. So how do I solve these problems, right? So these problems we can solve using window functions. And in my next session, I will show you how to tackle these problems what I have mentioned. And window functions is not just limited to whatever I have explained, whatever problems I have mentioned. Window functions can even do more, and we will be learning all of that. But you understood two problems here. One is that I wanted to find employees getting the maximum salary from each department. It was hard to get, right? I mean, we were able to achieve using joins and all, but there was no easy way to do that. Second is I want to understand top two employees from each department. I mean, I didn't have a way to do that. So this we have to do using window functions. And in my next session, I will show you how to solve these things using window functions so that you can understand more. So with this, let me end the session and I hope you liked it. Thanks a lot. Hello friends, welcome again. So in the previous session, you understood that in order to get like top 2 or top 3 in each department was difficult, right? Or we could not do it based on whatever we have learned till now, right? And even to get the names of people with highest salary and all in each department, that was tricky. We did it using joins and all. So I said window functions can make our life easy, and we can achieve these things very very easily using window functions. So let us learn how we apply window functions, and then I will give a definition for it. But before that, we will do it practically so that you understand what we are doing, and then we will define it. Okay. So what I will do is, uh, I will say select. We have an employees table, you remember, right? So I'll just take this select whatever from employees, right? Now whatever columns I want, I can. Let's say uh, I want, let's say, employee name, right? Employee name, and let's say I want department, right? Department, and I want salary. That's what we were saying. We were not able to get these things earlier. Hire date from employees. And how do we achieve it using joins? Like, for example, you remember we did this using joins earlier. That means if I have to find maximum from maximum salary from each department, and if I have to get these columns, then I have to do a join. And let's say employee ID, employee name, department, salary, hire date. Let's say I want everything, employee ID also. Let's say employee ID, all those columns, but without joins. Then I will show you how we can achieve. So after hire date, I am giving one more column, and this column would be generated by us based on some function. So I will use a row number function. I'll explain you. Do not worry. Row number, right? And how the syntax goes, row number over, right? So this is basically a window function. There are many window functions. Row number is one of them. I'll generalize this later. So after this, I will generalize this. So window function over clause, and here I have to define the window. What's the window? So partition by, and I have to give a partition column here. Partition by which column? So in our case, we want to partition by what? Department. Department. Okay. And I will say order by, based on salary I want to do, right? Salary. DEST. That means highest salary. If someone is having highest salary, I consider that as top. So DEST. I'll explain you this. Do not worry. But if I do that, what happens? And I so this will give me particular value, right? This will return particular value, and I give a alias as, let's say, row num. Okay, I am giving this alias. Now, if I run this, what will happen? I'll explain, and then I will explain about the syntax. So, what I am doing is I am running this, and you see this employee ID 6, employee name Ravi, department finance, salary 62,000, hire date this one, row number 1. That means what it has done for department, it has created one group, right? It's not that group as your group by, but think as a window. It has created as a window. Think it this way, right? A partition ideally. This is a partition just like a group. And you see here in finance, it has ranked them. For example, 60, the highest salary is ranked 1. And then, so instead of rank, I should say row number. I mean, it's at the top. Then second is the second highest salary. Third one is the third highest, and so on. So the highest one is at the top with row number as 1. And then you see for HR again, we have 4 employees. It has even given row numbers to them. The highest salary has got the row number as 1. And since we have sorted the salary based on descending order, that's how it is. If we would have sorted it in ascending order, then 48,000 would have got 1, right? Then IT. So again, there are 5 employees in IT actually, and you see it has given the row number, right? So within this table itself, along with all the columns, I have given a rank kind of thing to them, not actually a rank, because rank is another window function. Instead of row number, we could have given a rank also. I'll explain what a rank is, what a row number is, what a dense rank. So there are 3 main things. So row number, rank, and dense rank. I'll explain all of this. So these are nothing but the window functions, right? These are the functions. And then we have to give a over clause. So the syntax is that you define or give a window function, right? Let's say it's a row number, rank, or dense rank, whatever it is. And there are many others. But for example, when we are solving this problem, then the important ones for us to know is row number, rank, and dense rank. And then we give a over keyword. I mean, that's how the syntax has to go over. So we have to say that okay, I want this particular function like a rank or a row number or a dense rank over what partition, how we are dividing our data set into groups. So that's where we have to say over partition by, partition by, and then we have to give the partitioning column like a grouping column. That means we say okay, I want department wise top three, then partition by department. So partition by column. So I will say partition or by column. Some. So when I am giving it in this kind of bracket, then assume that we will replace it with something, right? And then I have to say order by, because on what logic you have to define the this that okay, I am like giving it as rank as 1 or 2 or 3, right? Then some based on some criteria we have to sort it, right? Then only we say okay, this is at the top, this is at the bottom. So of course order by you have to do. Without sorting, how you can say okay, this employee has the maximum salary? Without sorting you cannot say. So order by is again mandatory. So we have to give order by column, order by column, whatever column it is. I hope this would make sense. Just have a look at this, right? So now in this case, we have used row number as the window function. You see this. The window function is row number in this case. Over is like this only over. And then inside this, I said partition by whatever it was, partition by. And then we gave this partition column as department, because I want for each department the top two, let's say, or whatever. For each department, I want to rank it, right? So the window is basically a department, and we are how we are defining. the ranking or the row number based on some order, sorting order. And that's why I'm giving order by. And on what basis I have to do? Salary. I could have, let's say, if my requirement is I want the first two employees in each department or based on the hire date. That means I want the earliest employees in each department. Then instead of salary, it could have been we sort it based on hire date. I hope this would make sense, right? And if I do not give this descending order, let's say if I remove this, then by default it is ascending. And if I run this now, that means I just remove this descending word, then someone who is having lowest salary will be row number one. You see, 58,000 is one, 60,000 is two, 61,000 is three, 62,000 is four. I hope you can relate it well now. Right? So still we have not got the final answer though, but I have one more column which is row number, and for each department I am having that, right? So that means you think that this is one group, HR is another group, IT is another group, and you see row numbers are defined for each department separately. It's not that 1 2 3 4 and 5 is continuing, no, rather for HR it is having separate 1 2 3 4, again for IT it is 1 2 3 4 5, right? I hope this would make sense. Just have a look what I have done. Now, if you see this, I mean, let me ask you a question. What is the role of group by? What is the role of group by? The role of group by, when do you use group by? That means when for each group you want to aggregate. Basically, to aggregate, right? And for each group, we get a single row. That means that means, in this case, let's say in this employee table I will show you, select star from employees, select star from employees. Let's say in this, if I would group it based on department, then whatever it is I can blindly say that for HR department I will get one row, for finance I will get one row, for IT I will get one row. If there are three distinct departments, I will get three rows after the group by, if I am doing a group by based on department, right? That means for each grouping column, right? So to aggregate, and for each group we get a single row. And how many groups are there? One for HR, one for finance, one for IT. But in case of your window functions, we are getting the same number of records as the number of input records. If my input has 1,000 records, I am getting 1,000, because it's just that I derived one new column, and that column is based on window functions, whatever window function I called. I hope this would make sense. So I'll say, what is the role of group by? To aggregate, and for each group we get a single row. But using window functions, the input and output has the same number of rows for each partition, right? Has the same number of rows for each partition. So you can see this. I mean, if I run this for finance, if there are four rows, still I'm getting four. It's not that for finance I'm getting just one, even though I'm partition by based on department only. So it is different than group by, right? We are not doing any aggregation in this case. Rather, we are kind of defining some sorting logic, and based on that, we are assigning that okay, this comes at the top, this comes lower, like that. I hope you would understand the difference between group by and your window functions in this case. Right? Now, in this, I could have even removed this partition by clause. Right? So, for example, I will write here also, I or we can remove the partition by clause also if we want. For example, if instead of this, I could have just said order by salary. And of course, I will give DESC because that makes sense. What does this mean? What does this mean if I remove this partition by clause? This means now we are not saying that I have partitioned my data based on different departments, like IT is one department, finance is another, HR is another, right? Rather, the entire table is one big partition, right? So this row number will carry on from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the end, like 13 or whatever number of rows. So I will show this. Now entire table is one big window, one partition. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if I have to find, I want top three employees from this table, right? I do not want department wise, but top three from this table. Then I do not have to partition by on department. I hope this makes sense. So if we remove this partition by, that means the entire table is one big partition. But if we mention partition by, that means we are again having partitions within it. And the row number is defined accordingly. I hope this makes sense. Just have a look. Okay. But can we remove this order by? Can we remove this order by? Can we remove the order by also? Just think of it. See, think logically. This, how can you define some rank or something without any logic for ordering? Of course, you have to say, okay, I mean, how will you say this employee comes above this employee if you do not give any logic here? If you do not give any sorting logic, how will that happen? So, order by is mandatory to give. So you can see, even though this is working in MySQL, but I mean, whatever we wanted, like 50,000, 55, 48, right? It's coming randomly. And we do not know on what basis it's giving row number. And in other databases, this will not work only. This is not going to work only in many of the other databases. So I hope you can understand what I am trying to convey here, right? So even though it worked here doesn't mean that this is valid. This is actually invalid, and here it is working. I do not know whether it might be internally taking the primary key as this sorting column or whatever, I do not know. But it will not work in many of the other databases, and it's not logical. I mean, based on what we are defining this 1 2 3, based on what it is defined now, right? It doesn't make sense, right? So, for example, if I say partition by department, I just give partition by department. I am not giving this order by. So, even though it's coming, but you see, for finance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 60, 62, 58, it's going up and down. So, there is no logic as such. Might be in this table there is a primary key. So, by default, it is considering the primary key for the order by. But again, that's not something which will work in all databases. So you, in your, in as part of your learning, you think that this will not work if you are not giving order by. Even though you see it running here, doesn't mean that this is working properly, right? So if an interviewer asks tomorrow that, okay, what if you remove order by, then you will say it will fail, because then there is no point of writing such a query, because we do not know based on what we are giving this row number, how we are saying, though, this is coming at rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, right? Based on what we are giving. I hope this would make sense to you. Just have a look. That means order by is mandatory for you to give, partition by is optional. So I will say partition by is optional, but order by is mandatory. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, can we do a partition by based on more than one column? More than one column. So I'll just show you that what I am trying to say. what I will do is I will first of all drop this table. Drop table employees. Okay, I will recreate it with a slightly different structure. So you see, now we have one more column which is city, right? We have city also. So that's the only difference. I'll recreate this employees table with one additional column, and even in my insert it is reflected. I'll say select star from employees. So we have city also. Like assume that we have cities like Mumbai and Delhi. These are the two cities where we have an office, and like HR is from, some HRs are from Mumbai, some are from Delhi, like that. Before I forget, I will just put these two as part of my main notepad so that we do not miss this. Now, what I want is, I want, let's say, the top or the highest salary from each department in each city, right? That means for HR Mumbai, it should be 55,000 Neha, right? Neha HR Mumbai 55,000. Then, okay, HR Delhi. That means a combination of department and city. So HR Delhi, then we will get Rohit, right? Finance Mumbai, I will get Raj, right? Because you see, finance Mumbai, there are two people, like that. That means instead of just the department, now on a combination of department city, I want to get the maximum salary. That means I want to partition based on combination of department and city. How do we do that? So what I will do, I will take this. Of course, this query was not fine because I have removed the order by also. So now just say, let me just say here, row number over partition by partition by and what department, partition by what department, comma city. Partition based on these two columns, right? And order by based on, of course, salary DESC. Now you will see, based on this combination of department and city, it will try to assign this row number. So you can see this. Uh, you see finance. So I will have one more column, department and city also, right? City was missing here. So let's see. So finance Delhi, you see 62,001. Finance Delhi 61,002. Finance Mumbai 60,001. The higher the rank is less, right? Row number is less. So the maximum will have row number as 1 in each combination of department and city, right? But you see, your input rows and output rows are same. It's just that you derive one column based on your logic, based on whatever your partition and order by logic. As simple as that. I hope this is clear, right? And now we can even uh, order by based on more than one column. We can even order by based on one more than one column. So, for example, let me again delete the data from employees. This, anyways, I have posted here. Yeah, this is here. So I'll delete all the records from employees because I need some relevant data so that I can show you that. I have it here, which is handy. So the structure is same. It's just that some of the this salaries are repeating. Some of the salaries are repeating. Done. And yeah, I can say select star from employees, right? So we see some of the salaries are repeating, and if you run the same query, right, the same query if you run, where for department and city combination you want to find, you see finance Delhi, right? Finance Delhi 60,000, 1 and 2. Based on what basis it has given 1 and 2? We do not know, right? It can be based on the order of employee ID, but we do not know. It's not our logic that we have given. So, in this case, what do you want? Might be our logic should be I consider an employee as top if the salary is high. If the salaries are same, if an employee has more experience or the join date is earlier, hire date is earlier, then I will consider it as top. That means in case of a tie, I want to decide based on the hire date, let's say. So what we can do here is I can say order by salary DESC, comma, hire date. Right? If hire date is earlier, then I will consider it as top employee then. So if there is a match, then only it will check the hire date, right? And the hire date which is earlier. For example, in this case, 2022-01, you see this. Apart from that, let's say finance Mumbai. Let me see if there is any other tie. You see Delhi. So department IT and city Delhi, 68,000. But here you see the later date is coming first. Earlier was coming later, right? You see this. Now, in this case, if you see, if I just put this condition as hire date, things will change now. If an employee has been hired earlier, then in case of a tie, it will be a tiebreaker. You see this. The joining date was earlier, so this has got one, right? You see, the join date is earlier, so this has got the early rank, which is two, and the later it has got three because this person joined little late, right? So I hope you understood that partition by can be done on multiple columns, order by can be done on multiple columns, and order by is mandatory, partition by is optional. If you do not do partition by, in this case, if I just do, let's say, by the way, first I will put it here, right? Now, if I, let's say, remove the partition by, what will happen? Then it considers entire table as one big partition, right? And it will define this. So you see, in case of a tie, still it will have this tiebreaker for based on hire date. You see this. Actually, three people have the same salary here, 68,000. You see, it has how it has decided based on the earlier hire date. So you see this. Three people have 60,000, right? So kind of you would have understood this. So I will just put this also. And to summarize whatever we have learned, what I'm trying to say, when you are using a window function, you define what window function you want to use. Right now, we have just learned row number, right? It defines a row number 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? Based on whatever conditions we have put. Then we have this over clause, partition by. That means, do you really want to do it for based for groups, or you want to consider the entire table as one big group, right? So partition by, which is optional, right? Order by is mandatory because if you do not give this, then what's your logic, right? It doesn't make sense to give any ranks or something. I hope this would make sense. And partition by and order by can be done on multiple columns also. That's what we have seen here, right? Now, whatever we have done earlier, let me just see this one, right? What if I want to get the top from each department and city? Someone who is the top salary, or the top, like the row number one. Now you might think, okay, it's very simple now. If I just want the top based on, or le- let me first go with not this, the previous whatever we have written. Uh, so I want to not include city as part of it for now. Let's say I just want to do it for department. Let's say. department. I want to go simple initially just to show you that. So what I am doing, I am partitioning it based on department. That means for each department, I want to find top two people with the highest salary, right? And if salary is a tiebreaker, then based on hire date, I have to decide. So which we are doing, and we have got the row number as per based on our logic. Now, how do I get top two? You might think we will say where row number, because we have this derived column where row number less than or equal to 2. Will this work? Will this work? Whatever a derived column is there in the where select statement, can you use it as part of where? Right? You cannot, because if you see the execution order from where, so where is executed first and select is executed later. So this is not going to work. This is not going to work. It says it will not understand what is row number, because where clause is where statement is executed first. So if you remember, from where, right, select is later. So that's why it will not recognize what is this row number from where we are getting, because as part of my table from employees, is it here? No. Then how does it know what is row number, right? So how do we do this now? What we could have done, so I'll just say the below is not going to work. The below is not going to work. And you understand why. How we will get it working then? What we can do, we can say select star from, right? Make it as a subquery where, where, where row underscore num less than or equal to 2. Isn't it? If I just do this, will it work or not? It didn't work. Why? Because you have not given the alias for your subquery. Because if you are defining a subquery as part of from or join, then you have to give a alias to it, right? You remember that. So let's say I will just say as E, right? Now this is work. This will work. You can see this. So I am getting the top two from each department. Finance, who are the top two? Raj and Ravi. Raj's salary is 60,000, Ravi is 60,000, but Raj joined, or Raj was hired earlier. So Raj is the top. Neha and Rohit from HR, Sanjay and Priya from IT. Like that. I hope this is clear. And of course, this row number is of no importance for us if that way we think of, right? It might not be of any importance for us. So we can tell what columns we want, right? We can just tell what columns we want here in the outer query. So this is our inner query. This is the alias we have given, and then we have wrapped it in the outer query, right? We could have got top three also. How? Just say three here, and we can get top three, right? You can see this. And you could have got the top also. That's interesting. See, you are not making much code changes, but since you have derived one column based on which you can find top, top two, top three, like that. So you see this. Of course, when you are finding top, this select star do not make sense, because this row number is, I mean, it is top, then it will be one only, right? So you can define what columns you want. So you could have mentioned employee ID, employee name, department, city, salary, and hire date, right? Why to print this basically? But kind of you would have understood the logic here. I'll just say, so using uh, using subquery, we can achieve it. That means top two, right? And we could have easily done top three, top one, like that from each department, or from each department, or a department city combination. Now you understood this part. So directly you could not use where, but this is how you can use. Is there any other way you could have done? You remember I have taught in my sessions that a subquery you can change it to a CTE, right? So that way also we could have done that. How to do? So we could have said, uh, let's say with EMP CTE as, right. I'm defining a CTE. Then I do not have to give a alias as such because I have given a name to this. Correct. That's it. And now I can say select select star from EMP CTE, right? Where row underscore num less than or equal to 2. And if I run this, this should give me exactly the same result, the one which we were getting earlier. So it's just that the subquery I converted it to a CTE, and then it becomes more of a very neat syntax comparatively. So you can see convert the above the above to CTE, right? So you understood what is a window function. That means here what we are doing, instead of, see, if I have to relate group by versus window function, whatever we have done right now, right? Window function, there are many other things, but based on whatever we have done, in case of group by, for each group you get one single record as output. But in case of window functions, right, if there are 100 input records, right, then you will have 100 output records, right? The number of output records are not getting reduced because you are not doing aggregation as such. But in group by we mainly use it for aggregation, and one group we aggregate so that we get just one aggregated row for each group. But in window function it's not that, rather we derive one new column based on the window function we use. And row number is the window function that we are using right now. We are saying over what? Either we think that whole table is like one partition, or we define that, okay, this is how I'm defining a partition based on department or a combination of department and city, and what should be my ordering logic. Then I have to give that, because this is mandatory. Even though you see that in MySQL this work, but order by is mandatory, right? So even though it's working, but you think it that if they ask an interview, you say it does not work, because in most of the databases it will not work. And here why it works, because internally it might be doing order by based on some primary key or something, but we do not know and it's not intuitive, right? So order by is mandatory, partition by is optional. Partition by and order by both can be done on multiple columns, right? And after that, where clause didn't work because I mean uh, it was not there as part of the table. So that's where we used subquery or the CTEs in order to do that, right? And you can now easily find top 1, top 2, top 3, top 5 from each department, right? These kind of problems we can easily solve with this approach, right? So with this, I would end the session and I hope you liked it. In my next session, I'll talk more about window functions. Thanks a lot.